Know Thyself, the transformative power of purification and self-inquiry in yoga. The path of spiritual development is mysterious and incomprehensible to our physical mind, as it lies beyond the usual physical and has neither familiar forms nor clear outlines without proper guidance. It demands a surrender of preconceived notions and an openness to truths that the intellect alone cannot grasp. In their spiritual aspirations, people often rely on the vital, emotional aspect of their being, directing attention toward the divine. While this is natural, it also presents a significant danger that can lead to mistakes. Vital forces, feelings, and emotions, like mental forces, the mind, are aspects of the lower nature, and without a clear realization and understanding of how they operate, a person can easily confuse forces that support spiritual progress with those that hinder it. This confusion may result in distorting or justifying actions that are contrary to true spirituality. Achieving spiritual perfection for a human being is practically impossible without purifying or at least balancing the vital, mental, and physical forces. Different schools and traditions approach these forces in unique ways. For instance, in various yoga traditions, practices aimed at balancing these forces are common. Pranayama is a key tool for balancing prana, life energy. Through controlled breathing techniques, pranayama helps release energetic blockages in the nadis, energy channels, allowing for a smoother, more harmonious flow of prana. This purified flow of energy supports clarity of mind, emotional stability, and physical health, creating an ideal foundation for spiritual progress. Various Shuddhi practices are often associated with regulating the flow of vital energies, pranas, in the body. The Bhuta Shuddhi system of yoga is an important ancient method for purifying the body and mind based on the purification of the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether that compose the body. Shuddhi is a Sanskrit term meaning purification or cleansing. In various traditions and branches of yoga, specific Shuddhi practices are aimed at purifying different aspects of the human being, with their names often indicating the areas they target. These practices are frequently associated with prana, life force, or the nadi channels, and are meditative cleansing techniques. In addition to Bhuta Shuddhi, there are practices such as Prana Shuddhi and Nadi Shuddhi Pranayama, purification of life force and nadi channels, Chakra Shuddhi, purification of energy centers, Asana Shuddhi, and Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the mind. Chitta Shuddhi usually does not refer to a single, specific practice, but rather represents the overall goal of purifying the mind to achieve clarity, stillness, focus, and deeper states of meditation in yoga. Different schools of yoga may approach Chitta Shuddhi through various practices. Cleansing and preparatory practices occupy an important place in yoga traditions, serving as essential groundwork for more complex practices that require discipline and mental control. In Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga tradition, the practices of yama and niyama, preparatory disciplines of moral and personal conduct, hold an important place. These ethical guidelines serve as the foundation for mental purification, helping practitioners to remove mental disturbances, attachments, and negative tendencies. Through regular practice, they create a stable and clear mental environment, making it easier to enter deeper stages of concentration and meditation. Yama, often referred to as the restraints, includes principles like non-violence, ahimsa, truthfulness, satya, non-stealing, asteya, moderation, brahmacharya, and non-possessiveness, aparigraha. These practices regulate interactions with others, cultivating harmony, honesty, and self-control. Niyama, known as the observances, focuses on cultivating personal discipline through practices like cleanliness, saucha, contentment, santosha, discipline, tapas, self-study, svadhyaya, and surrender to a higher power, Ishvara Pranidhana. A key aspect of Ashtanga Yoga is the elimination of chittavritti, which refers to the modifications or disturbances of the mind caused by its involvement in various situations. Chittavritti encompasses the fluctuations and patterns of thought that obscure the true nature of the self and hinder the ability to achieve inner peace and clarity. Thus, Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga represents the 8 limbs of yoga, beginning with the preparatory and cleansing practices of yama and niyama, and culminating in the realization of samadhi. Each of these limbs is essentially preparatory for the next, leading to final realization. Discipline and consistency are essential in any yoga practice, where each subsequent stage gradually prepares the sadhaka for the next, more advanced practice. Similarly, the classical Hatha Yoga text, the Garanda Samhita, attributed to the sage Garanda, describes Saptanga Yoga, or the 7 limbs of yoga, also known as Gatastha Yoga. This text places significant emphasis on Shatkarma, or the 6 techniques of body cleansing, which are preparatory practices designed to strengthen the body and correct physical imbalances, laying the foundation for more advanced practices. Starting with Shatkarma, the practitioner progressively moves through each stage: asana, mudra, pratyahara, pranayama, dhyana, and samadhi, with each stage building a foundation and preparing the practitioner for the next stage. In this sense, although different yoga traditions may focus on various aspects of the human being, whether the body with its flows of subtle energies and chakras, the mind, manas, the ego, ahamkara, or the actions of the vital forces, it can be said that each practice of working with these aspects, from the initial to the more advanced, is essentially cleansing and purifying, as only through purification can one achieve final realization. In turn, the great Indian sage and spiritual teacher Ramana Maharshi focused on meditative self-inquiry, using the question, "Who am I?" to discern the true self from the various forces and actions that distract and obscure it. Although he acknowledged the benefits of various chitta-shuddhi, mind purification practices, he argued that the mind cannot be fully purified by any means other than atma-vichara, meditative self-inquiry. This inner inquiry dismantles attachments, clarifies perception, and ultimately reveals the self as beyond body and mind. One discovers that the mind's habitual thoughts and identities are constructs that fall away in the light of awareness, allowing for a profound, direct experience of one's true timeless essence. The great thinker and yogi Sri Aurobindo paid special attention in his yoga, Integral Yoga, to the question of purification. However, this purification was not connected with preparatory, superficial physical, moral, and ethical methods of self-control or external rules and rituals. Purification in Sri Aurobindo's yoga implied the complete purification of the gross nature in the human being and in all its aspects, mental, vital, and physical. In this case, the instrument of purification was the supreme power of Shakti, which he sought to bring down through the psychic being into all corners of his mental, vital, and physical being, and to eradicate with the light of truth all that is gross and ignorant. Various purification and self-inquiry practices in yoga are deep and significant, helping practitioners learn to recognize the influences of gross forces as well as the nature of experiences and thoughts, and to recognize the gross nature of their outer manifested being different from the true self. After all, even the insights encountered on the spiritual path may not always represent the supreme truth, and could instead be the play of the forces of ignorance. Vital forces represent our desires and emotional impulses. These forces can disguise themselves as spiritual experiences, making one believe in the truth and authenticity of these experiences. For example, the mind can justify desires and emotions as spiritual impulses, leading to the belief that one is guided by divine forces, when in fact it is the ego or untransformed desires that are at play. These mental or emotional states can give rise to false experiences, such as the illusion of enlightenment, spiritual pride, or attachment to certain beliefs and practices that reinforce the ego rather than dissolve it. The mental forces, while subtler than the vital, are not free from deception. The mind can create elaborate spiritual concepts, theories, and interpretations which can be mistaken for true realization. Moreover, the vital and mental forces can manifest more intensely under the pressure of spiritual practices such as intense meditation, pranayama, or tantric rituals, and can lead to unbalanced states. For instance, various visual and light experiences, atypical perceptions, or psychic phenomena may arise, which without proper purification or balancing can cause emotional instability in the practitioner or even lead to mental illness. History offers numerous examples of mystics or spiritual practitioners who, through unchecked spiritual ambition or lack of proper guidance, experienced psychological breakdowns, delusions, or even illness. Many such cases are particularly prevalent within the unstructured New Age movement, where questionable practices and unqualified spiritual mentors are common. In many of these movements, true spiritual realization is rarely achieved, as the so-called awakenings often take place on lower astral planes, which are essentially unrelated to genuine spirituality and with the higher spiritual realms, but are deeply connected to vital and mental forces. Practitioners often become entangled in the play of these lower forces, mistaking them for higher spiritual truths. The lack of a clear understanding of one's inner nature can lead to severe consequences in spiritual practices, especially when the play of mental and vital forces associated with the lower nature is mistaken for divine inspiration or spiritual insight. Without proper knowledge, purification, and discernment, the practitioner may fall victim to the allure of psychic phenomena, visions, or even states of bliss generated by the vital and mental realms. This is why many ancient traditions, such as yoga and Buddhism, emphasize preliminary practices like purification, self-examination, and strict ethical discipline before engaging in more advanced practices. These foundations help ensure that the seeker is not swayed by false perceptions or overwhelmed by the intense energy that can arise during psychic experiences. Without the appropriate framework, seekers might believe they are experiencing higher truths, but in reality, they are caught in subtle illusions, often reinforcing the influence of their lower nature rather than transcending it.